Hello and welcome to Dice Jesters. My name is Julie.
And my name is Dave.
And today, Dave and I embark on our journey of our 10x10 with our 9th game, which is Wingspan. It has been, I don't know if long awaited is the correct term, but it's been on the shelf for a bit. Oh, and Lupin has something to say real quick.
Yes, it's about time. We sat down to record, so of course he'd have to come up on the table. Maybe he's attracted to the birds.
Yes.
I think Lupin likes birds.
I think so too. But yeah, I'm excited / I don't know how to feel because I kind of have this bird. It's not like a phobia or anything. What would I qualify it as? Like aversion?
Distaste.
Distaste? I like
Disdain.
Disdain? You make it sound like I loathe birds.
How do you feel when you see a bird? Does it make you feel angry? Does it make you feel comfortable?
It depends on what kind of bird it is.
What if it's making eye contact with you?
Oh, why does it have to make eye contact with me? I don't know. Birds make me feel some type of way. I don't know how I feel.
A very ambiguous way.
Yeah.
Neither positive nor negative.
It definitely leans more on the negative side.
Well, this seems like the perfect game for you.
I know. That's why when you're like, oh, we're going to play Wingspans about birds, I was just like, are you doing this intentionally?
Well, I know you like animals, so...
I do like animals.
Yeah. What's your favorite kind of bird?
Ah, yes. I do have a favorite kind of bird. I have 3 favorite types of birds. I don't know if this is in any order, but I really like ravens and crows, like that family. Those are pretty neat because they gather shiny things and bring it back to their nest, and they kind of do like, who lives in the better nest? Like, welcome to my nest, MTV, like that type of
Is that how they talk, really?
No, but speaking of talking, ravens actually can mimic your voice or other animals' pitches and vocals more than a parrot can.
Okay, I have to say, a lot of times we're out and about walking around,
Yes.
and there'll be a raven on my car or somewhere, and you'll say things like, that raven's mine. I'm going to bring that home. I don't know if you're serious or
I'm
not.
so serious. My problem is that I don't know if they'll get along with Lupin or not. I don't want to come home and they got into a fight and then the raven plucked all of Lulu's hair.
I haven't really seen Lupin eyeing birds out the window or anything like that.
He does.
So I'd be curious.
I don't think he's a hunter. He's a big, gentle baby. Yes. So that's one of them. My next one would be hornbills. So I like hornbills because they're big birds, have really pretty horns, kind of like a toucan's, but less colorful. But my favorite aspect about them is that the male have red eyes and then females have bluish white eyes.
Oh.
So if you're out and about in a tropical rainforest where, you catch yourself usually.
You're going about your daily life?
Going about your daily life, you will see, a hornbill, check its eye out, find out its gender. Fun fact.
Have you seen one in the wild before?
No, I have not. Thank you.
It's on your bucket list, though, I can tell.
I've seen one at the zoo.
That counts.
Yeah, that counts as the wild, right? And my final bird, this might be my number 1 favorite.
Oh.
It is a shoebill stork.
Oh.
Yeah.
I would have guessed that.
Would you really?
No.
Do you even know what that is?
No, I don't. It's a type of stork I gather.
It's a prehistoric looking bird, right? And it's found in like East Africa swamps or whatever, but it's huge. It's like the size of a small child. I wouldn't even say small child. I would say the size of, I don't know, a 10-year-old. It's a big bird.
So it has a giant wingspan, you say?
Oh my goodness. No, it has a giant beak. Here, I'll look it up for you. You can see how terrifying it is. It's my favorite. I just want to go up and give it a hug. There it is.
Oh my God. I don't know if that's the type of creature I want to give a hug. That looks like something that's about to jump me in the parking lot.
Yeah, it's great. But its predators of shoebills would be the Nile crocodiles, if you're wondering. Everything else, it is the predator too.
Wow.
Yeah, fun.
That is... What do you think my favorite kind of bird is, if you had to
A
guess?
seagull.
Why do you think that?
Because they're rats with wings.
And you think that psychoanalyze my personality, that I would be the kind of person that would flock towards seagulls? How many bird puns am I...
I don't know. But you like squirrels?
I love squirrels.
Yeah, so
they're so fun to watch.
I just picked a squirrely bird, and seagulls are pretty squirrely.
Well, I have really good childhood memories because we go to the coast every year for my grandma's birthday, and we would stay in a place that had balconies. It wasn't a fancy place or anything like that, but I would get bread I don't know if my parents let me have it or not. I would take bread from our stash,
Okay.
go out on the balcony, and throw pieces of bread down to the seagulls, and they would flock around. It made me feel really important, like I was their leader of sorts. All the seagulls knew me by name by the time I left.
They were like, Dave.
Dave. That's what I imagined they were chanting.
Oh my goodness, when they were making that noise.
Yeah. But they're cool. I mean, just the sound of their, do seagulls chirp, or what do you call that, caw?
Yeah, they definitely caw.
They caw. The sound of their cawing just brings me to a nautical place, which is kind of fitting since our last game was Le Havre. This is a good follow-up to that. What would you say is my second favorite type of bird?
Oh, you're going to have 3 birds?
Well, just 2.
Oh, okay. I feel like you would like owls.
Oh, okay, let's go with 3 then. I do like owls a lot.
I feel like you like owls because they sleep all day.
I like how they can turn their heads around too. It's kind of creepy.
I figured you like the more simplistic aspect.
Simplistic aspect. And it reminds me of that movie,
The Fourth Kind.
The Fourth Kind. Yes, I was never afraid of owls until you had me watch that movie, and now
hey, if I saw it, you have to see it. Just like with food.
Yes. If you could guess number 3, I think you'll like this one too.
A flamingo.
Oh, those are pretty cool.
I don't like flamingos.
What about peacocks? I think peacocks are
like
pretty
peacocks.
cool. The sound that they make is pretty absurd. Maybe that's why I like them. But
I
I also like that
peacocks.
the male is colorful. It's the opposite of what you would expect.
Well, most things in the wild, the male is usually more colorful because they have to attract the female. It is only in human nature when we have to attract the male.
Thank you. Yes.
You're welcome.
That fun fact.
Anytime. Let's get back to the board game.
Yeah, let's talk about Wingspan.
I don't know.
You don't know about this one?
I don't know about this one.
First impressions on the table.
I'm feeling like you're a bird watcher and you're collecting all of the bird photos. That's how I feel. Because you have, what'd you call this? The journal or something when you were setting it up?
I called it a portfolio because that's kind of what it looks like.
Oh, that's just what it looks like. Okay, well, this portfolio item, it looks like you collect, let's see, 1, 2, 3 times 5, 15 different photos. I don't know if the cards are photos or not, but, and you want to capture rarer species than your opponent in the wild to then publish to said magazine. But you have all of these perhaps consequences or hurdles, like these berries might get you a cool bird, but then there's this rat, so you might get
those rats in this
bigger
game.
birds, like you might get hawks or vultures. And then there's wheat, so smaller bird, worm, your basic robins usually, and then fish.
Basic.
Fish, it can kind of go, you can get like sparrows, I don't know, you could get, you can get your seagulls with fish. Yeah, there you go. Are there seagulls in this game?
I hope so.
You can get lots of herons.
You seem like you have a profound level of bird knowledge.
Well, you can't fully feel some type of way about it unless you know things about it.
That was deep.
That's how I take life. Like, I can't fully judge something unless I know almost every aspect of it.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's my guess. I think you're just a person who takes bird photos. I do like these little eggs here. They remind me of the ones in Easter.
Oh, they look so delicious.
Yeah, they like the chocolate eggs, the little one, the Cadbury. Is that what it is? Yeah.
I can't remember what they're called.
And then I think the aspects are cute, like these wooden dice where you put it in the birdhouse. I made a birdhouse when I was little. You're like, is this...
Are you sure you don't like birds? You have a lot of bird stories. Maybe that's why. In this game, we can be a number of people, but at the end of the day, we're bird enthusiasts. We can be researchers, bird watchers, ornithologists, and collectors. And it says, we are seeking to discover and attract the best birds to your network of wildlife preserves.
Ooh.
Each bird extends a chain of powerful combinations in one of your habitats, and each habitat focuses on a key aspect of the growth of your preserves. So the way this game works is it's kind of like a tableau-building game, a la San Juan or Bruges, maybe a couple other games that we've played, and you're adding birds to your habitat. And when you trigger a certain type of action, of which there are 4, you get to reactivate all of the bonuses of those birds that you've laid down. So You can take an action to gain food, which lets you play more bird cards, or lay eggs, which give you points, or also can be prerequisite cost to lay bird cards down. You can draw more bird cards, or you can play bird cards into your habitat. So we're just taking turns doing those 4 things. And then at the end of the game, you get points for points in your cards, for eggs. We also have these end of round scoring objectives where we're trying to get the most of certain categories. It's a pretty simple game. I think it'll be pretty easy to explain, but I think you're going to enjoy this one based on other games that you've enjoyed so far.
Okay, I'm excited.
Yeah? Well, should we jump in and have me teach you your first round?
Yeah, you can teach me. Yes, I sound scared.
All right, well, we'll jump in, I'll teach you, and then we'll come back to discuss what we thought.
And we are back after my initial play of Wingspan, and to choose player 1, we forgot to mention that it is picked randomly, and Dave was so nice, so kind to allow me to go first, but I didn't listen to him explain the rules, so I just had him go first.
We were trying to do a lot, but it's okay.
Yeah, I was trying to do other things, but, here we are.
Yeah.
Either way, let's talk about the results. I don't know, what do you want to talk about first?
Well, despite your bird aversion,
yes.
How did you find this game in terms of gameplay, mechanisms, all of that?
I think it was very easy to learn, especially because, you explained it thoroughly. You are a good explainer of games.
Thank you.
But I just wasn't paying the most attention that I could have. But I still understood the premise just because it was easy to understand, since all of the gameplay was basically laid out on the board. So we had our board, or what Dave calls the portfolio, and we had our designated colored cubes. And then in the beginning of the game, we started with, how many cubes is this? Like 6, 7, 8? 8 cubes. And you got to pick a turn, or an action, if you will. I think that's the correct terminology. And you can put a cube on play a bird, so that's place a bird, but you have to make sure that you have the correct food to feed the bird before you place it, because you can't just have birds in your portfolio if you're not feeding them. It's true. It's real life. And then gain a food if you don't have the correct food to feed the birds. Lay eggs, so if birds can have eggs, you'll note that by the specific bird card. So on the card, it shows the element that the bird belongs to, on which you have to lay it down in that element. It shows the food cost. Then there's a feather, which is the points. And under that, there's little egg photos. So that is how many eggs you know that you can lay on it. And depending on how far up the egg track, the more eggs you can lay. And then the final action you can choose from is the draw bird cards. So if you're all out of bird cards, you can draw more. Each item has a little brown strip that says, then activate any brown powers in this row. So if you already have birds in that designated row that you're activating a power in, you can activate its special brown power on the card. Because there's some cards that don't have the brown strip, but have actions that say, when you lay it down, do this action, and what have you. So that is the basic logistics of the game. There are also 4 rounds, and in 4 rounds you do get bonus points for it. So if you are the player with the most, whatever that tile may be, you get 4 points for being first, and then it just declines after that. So if you're not first, you're last. No, I'm kidding. Maybe. But you get less points. So that is that. And
you did a really good job explaining all that.
Did I?
Yeah.
For somebody who wasn't paying any attention.
Wow. You could have just taught me the game.
I could have taught you the game. I don't know why. So there's like this quirky thing I do. I used to do it for school. But if I just turn off my brain, I don't want to use the word photosynthesize because I use it and I know it's used improperly. But I can basically absorb the knowledge without paying any attention if I just, do it.
Are you an AI? An AI human being?
Probably.
If I shut off my brain, I'm probably going to get into a car accident. I can say that. Don't ever let me shut off my brain.
Don't ever let you shut off your brain. But otherwise, I think the nature art on the board here is really pretty. Like the trees and the water and the grass and the field. Very nice.
Do you know that the cards are all unique in the game? And at the bottom, there's a fun fact about
I was looking for a Philippines one. I didn't know if they had a Philippine one or not.
Like this says, in most North American species, only males sing, but female cardinals break this rule.
Ooh.
So that was interesting.
Okay.
It also gives the wingspan of each of the animals as well in centimeters over here on the left.
I know, I noticed that too. And the only reason I noticed that is because one of my bonus cards, oh yes, you are given 2 bonus cards in the beginning, and then those just be mindful of because they might give you really good points, but they are difficult to obtain occasionally. But you'll need to know the wingspan for some, or you'll need to know the different types of nest on it as well. So it's all just little different things that go into the game. I think that the game itself is really well made. I think a lot of love went into this game because of the flow that it has, and everything was thought out. So the way that you roll the food die is a cute little birdhouse, and that's really sweet.
I love the birdhouse.
Yeah, and then you have the birds that lay eggs, and then as Dave stated, the cards give you all of these facts, kind of like I did in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And I could see all of the love that went into this. I just have a bird phobia. But otherwise, I do really enjoy this game, and I think it is easy to learn, it's easy to teach, and everybody can like it. It's cute. It makes you feel like you're out bird watching, trying to get the best birds.
Yeah, it has a kind of a delightful feel to it, a flow, very smooth. And I like that you said that a lot of care went into it, or a lot of love, and I can tell that this was a passion project. Elizabeth Hargrave is the designer of this game, and I believe she's a biologist as well. So this was a true passion project. Aww. And I think that really comes through in the design, that this is really somebody's entire work of love went into this.
I love that.
So I really think the bird theme really works, or it could have just been animals, because really when you look at the different habitats and everything, there is a lot of thematic elements and the eggs and everything. So
yeah, I think it's simple too. It's simplistic and beautiful.
Do you think that you could teach this to people who don't play a lot of games or haven't played any game before, or would you start with something else?
No, I think you could teach this right away, honestly. Because, again, I didn't mean to not pay that much attention, but I was in the middle of something just because I have to get certain things done, and I still gathered the concept of the game. Yeah, so.
I mean, you are a superhuman. So one thing that I didn't mention that the game comes with that you can use as a teaching tool if you're teaching somebody for the first time is this jumpstart variant to play, where basically each person gets this special rule reference sheet in front of them and a specific hand of cards and certain resources, and it literally walks you through your first 2 or 3, 4 turns of the game and teaches you the rules of the game in those turns. So that the first few turns are preset. They'll say, do this on your first turn, and this is why you're doing this. And it slowly introduces the rules as you play. Oh. And that's I just thought I could just unload a bunch of information on you to absorb it into your AI brain. But there's that. And then the second thing I wanted to mention that I didn't show you was, I know we played on this end game scoring side where we're going for first place or second place. Yeah. But if you're playing with somebody who's a little bit less competitive, there's this other side where you just look at how many of each type you have, and that's how many points you get, rather than going for first or second place. So it's cute. I think that that's really neat that it comes with different variants that we can try both ways as well.
Sweet. This game is so adorable.
Yeah,
I really feel the care.
I love the artwork and everything. So
yeah, I think the artwork's really nice. It's just the theme that freaks me out.
There was one bird though where you said, "Oh, that's so cute." What kind of bird was that?
What kind of bird was it? It was a belted kingfisher. Oh. I like them because they dive at fish. They're like, you'll watch them like circling the water, and then they'll go. Pew! You're like, you named a 4th bird you liked. Yeah. No, okay, fine. Let me just tell you. Okay, here we go. So owls scare me because of the 4th kind. So that's a bird. And then when I was in Florida with my sister, she had sunflower seeds, and she was trying to feed the seagulls with them, but then she fed them too much. They got aggressive, and then they started attacking me. And so I grabbed her sunflower seed bag and I threw it in the air, and they still kept coming for me. And they chased me. My mom has it recorded. Oh, it was traumatic. And then when I was in the Philippines, these like parakeets crawled on my face and they put their little claws in me. Oh, no. Like my eyes. It was terrible.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh at your
It goes on. And then this one time when I was outside, I was playing, and then there was this robin, and it just defecated on me.
Oh no.
And then I had to go change, and I was like, oh, you know how I have germ issues, and I freaked out about it, and I'm just, oh.
Those birds.
Yeah. Oh, the list goes on and on. I have so much more, but it's not about my trauma with birds. It's
Oh, I love that you called seagulls rats with wings too. That really made my day.
They are. They just eat.
No, I think I've played this game in the past quite a few times, and it was interesting because it's been a really long time since I played this. And it was interesting playing it with you after us having played so many games, especially San Juan and Bruges, which are tableau-building games that I really love. And I think that this game is smooth. I don't know necessarily that it is completely unique, especially these days with things that it does, but what it does really well. I don't think a game necessarily has to be completely innovative to be enjoyable. I think this is a game that blends a lot of things that I enjoy about games. I'll be interested to see after 10 plays whether or not it is still one that I enjoy as much as I do.
Well, before we get into our 9 additional plays, do you want to talk about end of score points?
Oh, we had to come back to that?
We do have to come back to it, because this was my first round.
Well, the Birdmaster Julie...
I photosynthesized it, you know?
Birdmaster Julie got 66 points, and Dave got 52.
Yeah, good job.
Did I get that right?
Yeah,
52?
Yeah, 52.
Yeah.
It's a 5 and a 2.
Just wanted to make sure that wasn't an 8. I didn't get 82. I got 52.
Yeah, you got 52.
So we'll see after these 10 plays
I'm going to be the
who comes
bird
out the
queen.
Bird Master of the Ages.
Of the ages. All right, well, let's get into it. We are back after 10, I don't even know what to call it. Enthusiastic? No. Gripping.
Oh, get it because the bird grips
yes,
on things?
Yes, 10 gripping plays of Wingspan. And it's gripping because we went back and forth with wins, and this whole time I thought I was going to win. But did you go easy on me the first time we played?
Maybe, but then, I just really soared to victory.
Oh my goodness. No, so the first time... Okay, well... Here, let's get into Wingspan first. Wingspan is a game that is part of our 10x10. It is the 9th on our list. So we played it 10 times, and we're here to report back about it. And my mind's just scrambled. Yeah.
Oh.
There you go.
It really rustled your feathers?
It really ruffled my feathers.
Ruffled.
The journey of playing this 10x10 has been just that. It has been quite the voyage, I would say.
Yes.
Because I don't like birds.
But there's also a lot of species of birds that you do like.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I don't know, they're just so unpredictable, you know? So there was that whole thing, and you're like, oh, it's immersion therapy. You keep touching the bird cards, keep touching the eggs, the bird nest with the dice. Why don't you just get into the stats of the game, Dave, before I go down this whole rabbit hole of why birds just... we just don't get along.
So it was close. It was 6-4, and we started with... I had a bunch of wins in the beginning. I actually won a couple times to begin our 10x10 challenge, and then I had a huge winning streak, and then I thought I was going to win by a landslide.
By a landslide?
You had a couple of wins, and that put us tied at one point. But then I won the last 2 final rounds that we did this evening. So other than that, our average scores were pretty close. I had 75.4 and you had 71.6. And I actually had the highest score of 91 and you had 87. And the game was around 39 minutes was our average for a 2-player game over 10 rounds. So pretty quick once we got into it. We had a couple rounds that were around 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I know you aren't a huge fan of birds, but let's talk about the game itself. What were some aspects that you enjoyed about the experience, or what were some things that stood out to you? Some moments that you enjoyed?
Yeah, so I liked that on the bird cards, the cards that you draw, when you got the bird, it actually gave an actual fact about it. So that was interesting because when I was looking at it, all the crows would take an egg and put it somewhere else, or you could give them an egg for a gift. And that was interesting to me because in life, outside of games, crows will make their nest with shiny things and you can trade it to get your shiny things back. So let's say you want to get, I don't know, they took your pocket watch because they're pretty tricksy. So then you go and you give it something shiny or something they'll like, and then it'll give you your pocket watch back.
Have you ever negotiated with a crow?
No. I just know lots about crows. I wanted to write a book about a crow, about this town with a bunch of crows. Anyways, and then there was another bird that if there was no eggs, it would give you an egg or something like that. But regardless, the description of the bird's ability matched the real life bird. And I thought that was unique. I thought that was interesting that the designer took so much time to learn all of these things about the birds to incorporate those facts on the cards.
Yeah, they seem thematic. Mm-hmm. Everything, the way that the birds acted and the abilities and everything. I'm not an expert when it comes to birds by any means, but it did seem like a lot of care was put into making sure that a bird's ability matched its characteristics in the real world. So yeah. I thought that was fascinating.
That was really neat, especially with the whole egg system too, because some birds that really don't have eggs, like a lot, you know, they could only hold so many eggs. So birds that are known for having more eggs had more eggs, and I thought that was interesting. And then the part that made me laugh about the game is I know that it is a hurdle for me because of the theme, but it was funny when we would discard some birds or we would get birds. For example, you had laid down the turkey and I was just like, you discarded the turkey and I was like, of course you're going to discard the turkey. I'm going to play the turkey, Dave. Obviously you discarded it for your own reason, but my weird rivalry with turkeys.
I learned a lot about you as a person playing Wingspan. I've never known somebody, A, with so many opinions about bird species, but also B, has so many personal stories with so many different types of bird species in their lifetime.
And it was so funny because when we were playing the game, every time a certain bird that I had an experience with, I was like, and then this happened with this bird, and this happened with that bird. And I was like, ooh, that bird. I was like, that bird looks cute, but that bird's mean.
Yeah.
So that was really nice. And then when you initially showed it to me, my mind was all jumbled somewhere else, right? Because I was getting past the design. But then we had played it once, and I don't know if you went easy on me or how that went, but the results was me winning.
Right.
Then we played it some more times, and you started to win. But I realized it's because the game has a lot of strategy behind it that I didn't initially see because I was distracted by something else. In a way, it kind of slightly felt like Agricola, where you always want that extra turn. Because there's 4 rounds, and you get to lay your piece down on whatever action that you want to do, and then you only have a certain amount of numbers, and each of those slowly disappear throughout the 4 rounds. So you, at the end of the game, you're down 4 actions, which you always want the extra round to complete some things.
It is interesting that they get shorter and shorter, but it's almost designed to where you can still accomplish the same number of things within a round, because as the rounds go by and you put more birds out, I thought it was interesting that you would chain together these cool bonuses and be able to do a lot. So it's almost as though it was designed with that on purpose, because the first round, you're not getting many special abilities or bonuses. You're just putting your cube down to grab 1 resource or grab 1 card or get a couple of eggs. Mm-hmm. So naturally you would need more turns to be able to do more things to accomplish anything within the round.
Yeah, that's true. And with it was very resource heavy too, because you could spend your eggs, but it was just like spending points. Like in the hub, you could spend your coins to feed your person, but then your coins are gone and those are points at the end.
Yeah.
Same with the eggs, they're points at the end.
I have an interesting question I'm thinking about. As we've played more and more games, this is one that's known for being almost an introductory level game that you can teach to anybody. The theme will draw people in. It's really simple turns. Put down a cube, do an action, chain together bonuses, lay down birds, that kind of a thing. But I almost feel like the more heavy games that I play, quote unquote heavy games, strategically deep games, I can play lighter games and it almost feels as though those games are heavier to me now. Not rules wise, but my brain gets lost in these chains of possibilities.
The chains.
Of trying to calculate my turns and looking at the resources that I need, looking at my end game secret bonuses that I'm going for, looking at the bird cards in my hand. What do I need? What end of round bonuses are coming up? How can I set myself up now to get the maximum number of points at the end of the game? What are the optimal moves to make? And calculating the return on investment. I'm like, this game was not designed to be this level of thinking. Or maybe it was, I don't know.
Well,
but
that's how we were for Gingerbread House.
Yeah, because I remember I played this game a while back when it first came out, played it with just family and stuff, and I was thinking, wow, this is such a lightweight, easy flowing game. And now I'm like, it's not the rules, but as I'm playing this, like even playing 2 games of this in a row, my brain was pretty exhausted by the end, just with thinking through all of those things that were going on within this game. How was your experience with that? Do you think that the more games that you play of strategic nature, that you can almost overthink simple games? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that you can overthink simple games because when you get so used to playing more strategy games, you get in the mindset of, oh, this has to do something. And sometimes in simple games, they don't do anything.
Yeah.
Like, that does absolutely nothing. It's just there.
It's just there.
And then you get that feeling of doing a chain like you do with Dominion. You don't have to grab the festival card, Dave, but you grab the festival card, Dave.
Oh, it's so
and you
good.
just chain it up. And I'm like, wow, you did all of that for the 3 coin. That's all you did it for. No, the 1 coin. Just like, you got 1. And you're like, but look at all the cards I used. It's like, ah.
It's so good.
So,
and that's when I'm saying, I'm like, look at all my birds.
Yeah, exactly.
I filled it up.
And I think for this one, the reason that I beat you the first round is because neither of us played strategy-wise. We just played the game,
Yeah.
Kind of like at a family level, because I was learning it. You haven't played it in a bit, so we just kind of were going through the motions. While after playing it an additional 9 times, we got really competitive with each other.
Oh, we
Like,
did.
we were pretty quiet. We weren't talking to each other.
I wanted to win.
I know. But that's when I realized, like, oh gosh, now I gotta keep up. So then I was reading the effects of the birds, reading the different bonuses, trying to figure out how to get more eggs, trying to figure out how to get more cards tucked under some birds. And it felt more so like a battle than it did the first round.
It did. And I'm glad you mentioned the battle aspect, because we did play once with that alternate side of the end round scoring sheet, where instead of looking at who has the most of each category, it gives you the category, and then for each of those you get 1 point up to a maximum of 5. And I was kind of bored with that one, I'll be honest. Part of the fun was looking at your board and figuring out what I needed to do to outdo you, or was it even worth it chasing that category this round? But, I'm going to set myself up for the next one, because the points ramp up each round. So that last one is the most important.
Yeah.
The first one, like, I could take it or leave it. But if you get second place, that's not so bad. It's only like a few point difference between you and the other person. But if you have 0 of that, it's 0 points. You have to have at least
I've
one.
noticed.
So I did a lot of looking at your board, glancing over it. You're like, Dave, go away. You don't need to look at what I'm doing here. I do, because I want to win the game.
You don't. We're going to play with borders.
I do appreciate that was there, though, because I could see some people enjoying that style more. You and I are very competitive with each other. But if you're playing with people that just kind of want to do your own thing, look at your board, don't have to worry about anybody else, that's there too, which might actually be an easier side to teach the game with, perhaps.
Did you say that you could play this game as 1 player?
Yeah, there's a solo mode.
So wouldn't you play that side as 1 player so that you're not getting the same points all the time? It would challenge the 1 player.
I think
if that makes sense.
If I remember correctly, you do use that side just for solo.
Yeah, because you would have to get points to move up to 5. Otherwise, you're stuck with 0 or anything less. While on the other side, you would be first place no matter what.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if it was the other side, I'm sure that the solo mode has something built in where you have to beat a certain in order to get first place or something.
That sounds like more
games.
work.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never played a solo game, so I can't really.
There's some really smart solo designs out there, believe it or not. So.
I'm scared. You're like, of the birds? I'm like, no, I'm playing alone.
So were there any aspects to the game that you didn't enjoy as much?
I do think the game was well made. I think that however it was made, it was play tested, and the individual listened to the people who play tested it, because I usually don't read the rule book, but I did go to the rule book for a few things. Oh, you know what? No, now that I'm talking about the rule book, I do have some feedback. Here we go. So
feedback.
I do.
It sounds very corporate now.
Yes, here is my exit interview now.
Yeah.
So when I was looking at the cards on the bonus cards, I did like that it gave the percentage of what is there, but I ended up with the wormy card 3 times, and there's only 9% of birds that only eat a wormy. So it was difficult to get the bonus card because I wasn't getting enough cards drawn. So I felt like that was like a difficult one, and then it gave the other person an unfair advantage because they could hit their bonuses while I couldn't. I understand that, you know, the game might have other birds that allow you to get more bonus cards, but I think gathering bonus cards was the most difficult in the game because there were so little birds that offered that ability. And then on the bonus card, there was this one that really bothered me. So it said that you get 2 points for any bird that's less than 4 or something like that.
Less than 4 points.
Yeah, but in my mind, the way that I took it was less than or equal to with how the actual wording was. We'd have to look in the box for the actual wording. But the actual wording confused me, and then when I read it, I was disappointed to find out that it wasn't equal to 4.
Oh, because you had planned around that.
Yeah, so a lot of my birds were 4s. So I didn't really get the maximized points for it because you had to get 5 to 6 for 3 points, and then it was 7 plus for 6. And so that bothered me a bit because to me it wasn't clear. Yeah. And there was a few things that I had to address the rule book for because there was a bonus card that said you can get a bonus with this, not including the stars. But then there was the end of round scores that included the star nest ones. So that really bothered me too because I thought that I was gonna beat you, but then you had the star one. And then you were like, I have the star nest, so I get to use it. So that was quite frustrating, and I think I didn't listen to when you were reiterating those things, but I feel like that could have been a little bit more visualized on the little winning thing.
Like symbology or something?
Yeah, because for me, the whole reason that you read the rule book over me, well, A, is you have more experience than I do, but B, I'm dyslexic, so reading all of those letters on the page just jumbles up. So I like to play with the symbols for the most part, and that's why I like to get the gist of the game, and then I look at the symbols. So that made it kind of difficult.
Yeah, you do seem to like games that are heavy on the symbology rather than text.
Yeah, because it's easier for me. So
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, well,
I'm glad that you mentioned the end game scoring objectives. Alluded to the luck factor in the game, which I think is really worth diving into and talking about a little bit because we've played other card games, and the one I would compare this most to is probably San Juan, being a tableau building. And I'm spoiler alert, I like San Juan a lot more than this game in terms of if I'm going to rank all my favorite games, and I'm trying to think of why. Because this game has a lot of things that I really enjoy: the resource management, the tableau building, the bonuses. And I think when it comes down to it, the objectives in the game that you're going for seem highly specific, and I know that they put the percentage of cards that are in the deck that would fit into that category, and it seems not that bad, but the deck is so big, and you can find yourself searching through the deck of 100 plus cards looking for something that fits the categories and just not find it. The other thing is that the game doesn't have anything naturally where you're drawing cards on your turn, and so you have to build an engine in order to be able to draw more cards. So without the ability to draw cards, you may not see the cards come up, and I know that you refresh the row of 3 at the end of each round, but it just felt like there were some games where I had the exact right cards in my hand for the objective cards that I happened to draw at the beginning of the game. I don't know if the fix would be the ability to draw those cards later in the game. I know that there are a couple bird cards that let you do that, but that depends on you having those bird cards that let you then draw it. But if there was some way to not have the endgame scoring in the beginning, but more halfway through the game. But then again, if you have the beginning, you can kind of work toward that the whole way through the game. I just felt like there were some games where it really worked in my favor, but not necessarily due to my own planning. It was just I happened to look down at my board and say, wow, I have everything I need for this particular one without really trying. And then others where I really searched for birds that had a wingspan greater than 65.
Yeah, me too.
Or that could only eat grain.
Yeah.
Or could only live in the water habitat or whatever it was. It was not going to... Or my favorite was if it had a body part in its name or it was named after a person or there was some...
or a really... color in the name.
Yeah. I don't know about you too. When I have endgame scoring objectives that are secret and I have to keep them face down, I have to constantly remind myself, this is a mental block for me. I like it when endgame scoring objectives are more public, when we're all going for the same thing rather than the secret ones. Like the luck factor in this game, and also when it comes to the resources too. I can have a bird card in my hand that I really need, and I could even use the ability where you get to re-roll everything if there's only one type of resource showing, and it still doesn't come up. And, oh man, I just really need this. Okay, I'm going to use a turn trying to draw the right card. Oh, I didn't get all the right cards. Okay, I'll do something else. But by that point, I've wasted 3 turns. And this is a game where turns start to feel really important. So if I've wasted a few turns, I'm thinking, the game's over by this point. You're going to win. By the level that we got by games 7, 8, 9, and 10, where it was so strategic and competitive, I found myself feeling really frustrated just due to the lack of ability of not drawing in my favor.
No, that's how I was, because there was one round that I had to waste where I had to put all of my turns on getting the food from the bird feeder. So that's a good point. I think that would be the feedback, is not that it's feedback because the game's already made. I guess that would be my criticism, because I feel that there should be some type of way to get something and be less restrictive.
And the other criticism I had, which is kind of a known aspect to this game that I believe that they addressed in future expansions, was the last few turns of the game don't really feel super exciting. And here's why. Because when you crunch the numbers and try to calculate how to maximize your points in those last few turns, it almost always makes sense to only lay out eggs, because each egg is worth 1 point. And by that point in the game, if you're laying down a new bird card, you usually have to spend eggs in order to put it down and spend resources. So when you crunch the numbers, unless that one card puts you into a threshold where you're gaining some kind of bonus or something, it only makes sense to use your last few turns of the game to lay out eggs, and then the game is over. I like games where the last few turns feel super tense and you're really watching the other person and it really comes down. It's a really nail-biting experience, and this didn't really have that.
Yeah. I would say if it's going for a thematic effect, though, it definitely does have the feel of if you're going out looking for a certain bird, because the deck is so big.
Oh, that's true.
And you are looking for that certain needle in the haystack, right? Is that the saying?
Yeah.
Cool.
I was trying to think of a bird pun that would fit into that, but...
A twig in the bird nest? But a specific twig. There you go. Like
a crumb in the seagull flock. How about that?
I
don't know.
In the bird feeder.
So is this a keep it to play or trade it away?
This is a trade it away for me.
Okay.
Yeah. I am willing to try, because we had some recommendations when I was telling one of our friends about how Wingspan freaks me out because of the birds. And they said, oh, why don't you play Wormspan?
Wormspan, yes.
Yeah, so I am willing to try that, and maybe I'll think differently because the theme's different, so I won't have to stare at what I fear the whole game.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to try that, because I've heard that it is a step up in terms of strategic depth.
Okay.
So I'd be curious about that. And the theme is also really cool too.
Yeah, the theme looks really cool. I like that it has dragons.
Yeah.
I love dragons.
But thank you so much for taking that journey or that migration.
That migration, oh my goodness.
With Wingspan with me over 10 rounds. And I'm really happy that I won.
Yes.
2 games now out of our 10 by 10 challenge. Wow, I'm getting obliterated in this.
It's okay. Don't we have like 1 game left?
We do.
Yeah.
Viticulture.
We have viticulture.
One of my favorites, so we'll see.
We'll see.
If you take the crown from me in this one too.
You're just going to give up. That's what you said about Castles of Burgundy.
I know.
Here we are. But yeah, thank you so much for showing me, Dave, and thank you so much for being on the journey with me, explaining every single bird that I do and had a close encounter with.
If anything, this game brought us closer together.
Now you know odd knowledge about me and birds.
That I can never unknow.
Right, exactly. And thank you so much for listening to us this week and also being on my bird journey with Dave. Be sure to join us next week as we discuss viticulture. If you would like to find us on Instagram, our Instagram is Dice Jesters. We are also on Patreon. Our Patreon is Dice Jesters as well. You can check us out on YouTube for videos that we will be posting. And as the final bird takes flight and the last eggs are laid, we reflect on this intricate beauty of nature and strategy. Until our next game, Viticulture, may your wingspan always bring you closer to victory.